Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from spaitgirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today with our very special guest, Erin Barnett. Erin Barnett is the author of Endo Unfiltered, How to Take Charge of Your Endometriosis and PCOS. This book is published by Murdoch Books. Now, many of you might already know Erin Barnett if you watch Australian TV, but she is well known for being a little bit of a reality TV star. She's an influencer, women's health advocate, and a star on Beauty and the Geek Australia, Love Island Australia, and I'm a Celebrity. And she shares her experience of navigating her teens and 20s while living with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. Erin is an ambassador for Endometriosis Australia. She's part of a growing movement of endo sufferers, giving voice to this previously taboo topic that affects a vast group of people and too many of whom are suffering in silence. I'm super excited to have you here today, Erin Barnett. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really good and I've been so excited for this podcast.
We'll welcome our global audience. It's so amazing you're here with us today and I'm super grateful you're tuning in. Erin, how does it feel to see your first book published?
I know, I've got it right here.
There it is. She's holding it up. Congratulations.
I actually can't describe the feeling because I was not one to ever be fully into like reading books or anything, but I always wanted to write something like this. And when the writing process was happening, it didn't really feel real. When it came into my hands, I was like, this is my name. This is actually going to be going everywhere. Like, do I understand now, Erin, you've just written yourself a book. It's really unbelievable.
You've honoured this book to your nan.
Yes.
Tell us why.
Well, as much as I love my Nana Barb, she is my best friend. She is the only one that has endometriosis. So I obviously got that off her. She gave me the greater gift of life. So I honoured it to her. And also because my nan reads about 5 books a day. She is a bookaholic. When I say she's a bookaholic, I've never met someone who can read as quick as she does. So I thought I'm going to dedicate this to her to show her that she means so much to me. To say thank you for everything she's done for me in my life, but also to say this is kind of your fault that I have endometriosis too.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I am 26. I'm 27 in April, and I'm just your regular, down-to-earth, everyday Melbourne girl. I think people would obviously know me because of reality TV and things like that. I just randomly applied to go on Beauty and the Geek when I turned 18. I thought it would be fun. Never thought anything would happen. And obviously it did. And then I realized I love being behind the camera, but I couldn't be an actor because whenever I go to read a script, I just get the giggles and I don't get embarrassed easy, but I can't be an actor. So the best next thing is reality TV. And I can do reality quite well because, like I said, I don't get embarrassed easy and I'm not ashamed to show everyone my life.
When you're on reality TV shows, being in the spotlight in national TV and social media, have you had that experience? Got people that love you. I love you, Erin Barnett. You're my girlfriend. You're the best. And other people
you do get the good with the bad. The good is you are noticed and you can use your platform for good, like I hope I'm doing. But then the bad thing is you realize that you can't do everyday things that other people who like don't have a big following or haven't been on TV can do. Like you can't really say go out drinking with your friends and get a bit too drunk because you'll be in the public eye and you'll be shamed for doing it. There's a lot of stuff that you have to be so careful. I do miss back in the day just doing whatever I wanted and not feeling that, oh, I hope I'm doing the right thing. You always have to second guess yourself, but then you have the good where people are so nice to you and they're so grateful and they're helpful. And also it gives me an opportunity to branch out to other people around the world that I'd never have the opportunity to.
And with your Instagram, you've obviously used that as a platform to really share your endometriosis journey and your PCOS. For our listeners, can you explain what is endometriosis and how did your journey first unfold?
Endometriosis is when the lining's similar to what grows inside of your uterus, your womb area. I have to say similar because it's not the same, and a lot of people get very angry when you don't say like it's just similar, but it's not the same, and it grows everywhere else in your body. And when it does, it still reacts to when you do have a period and you shred the lining of your uterus. When you do, say, get your period and everything comes out, the lining that's gone everywhere else in your body still reacts to those hormones. So you've got to imagine if you're bleeding, it comes out, it goes away, but it's stuck inside your body in other organs and other places. So it's just going to grow and it's just going to get bigger and stronger and it has nowhere else to go. So it's just going to spread. So you have to get it removed. And the more you get it removed, the more adhesions you get from surgery, like scar tissue, and then that can also cause the endometriosis to get angry. So it's just a vicious cycle. It all started when I was 14. I had PCOS. My mum and my sisters had polycystic ovary syndrome, and so I had that as well, but we didn't know till I had my first surgery, which was like a 3-kilo cyst. They kept saying that they saw something that looked like endometriosis, but no big deal, she's too young. So here, let's try a new pill. Let's just medicate her as much as possible with all the different, contraceptive pills that are out there. And it wasn't until I was a bit older that I got diagnosed with endometriosis, and the surgeons would never have found out how quickly endo can grow if it wasn't for how fast I was growing cysts that had to be surgically removed, because I've had surgery within 3 days from each other because a cyst had grown back that big that it was emergency surgery, and they had just gotten rid of my endo and it came straight back, and they were like, this has been 3 days. We've never seen this. And I said, I think you've never seen it because you haven't had a surgery that needed to happen immediately, where I can guarantee it probably grows within a second.
Wow. Were you starting to get a lot of pain when you had the cyst and your periods and things? Were you having
When I was
pain?
14 when I had my first surgery. It was huge, this cyst, and I just thought I was a chubby kid, and it was actually rock hard. It was a massive cyst, and it wasn't until I laid down flat and I said, oh, Mum, I'm so sick of my stomach. Look at it. And my mum just freaked out. They thought I was 24 weeks pregnant at the age of 14. I had just gotten my period, so that probably should have been a red flag that I was very late to have my period, because all my sisters and my mum got it when they were about 8 and 9. So I was like a late bloomer. And then we went to the doctors and they just said, this is huge and we're surprised it hasn't burst yet.
Wow.
And the pain only ever happened after my first surgery. I think it just really opened up a can of worms. And then trialing different medications like the pill, they give you so many different to try for 3 months and then 6 months. And then that just messes with everything. It's a roller coaster of medication you have to try, and doing it at such a young age, it kind of made things worse, but then it made things better. But as I'm getting older, my endometriosis is getting worse, and so is my cysts. So I think it's better to have it younger, because I don't like being older with it anymore.
And so you're continually doing treatment for your endometriosis, PCOS.
Yeah.
And do you anticipate any more surgery?
So I definitely need another surgery. So I had my most recent one, was it surgery 17? I'm going to lose count soon, in December, which had to be put off because of COVID. So it happened in December. As soon as I opened my eyes, I knew something was wrong. Everything started sticking together. I had a really bad recovery. 2 weeks later, I told my gynecologist something's not right. So I went back to have a scan. I couldn't finish the internal ultrasound. They said, Erin, your ovary is 4 times the size it should be, and it's actually stuck on absolutely everything, and it's only going to get worse. And if your ovary is stuck on your bowel, that surgery is quite dangerous to tear it apart. So I'm having surgery when elective surgery is now open again in Melbourne, because that's closed at the moment. But I also was just diagnosed with adenomyosis, which is endometriosis inside the uterus wall. So you can't actually scrape it out or burn it off or whatever. So the only way they get rid of that is actually to remove the uterus. I just want my right ovary and my uterus out, because I know it's not a cure, but I won't be in as much pain, because without my last ovary, I can't, like ovarian cysts. Like it's just a fact. But they can remove my uterus and my right fallopian tube, but they'll keep the ovary in there.
So much stress.
I know. This type of pain that I'm feeling after this surgery, it's not a cyst pain, it's everything stuck together. The egg gets released from our ovary. What the ovary does is it actually bounces around, and to help the egg go down the fallopian tube. I like to call it a slide. I was saying it to younger kids, like just goes down the slide. So you got to imagine when you're ready to have your period and everything's stuck, how is it going to move? So it causes a lot of pain. And if that's stuck to your bowel and it's stuck to your uterus, everything's going to be inflamed.
Being stuck to the bowel is so serious.
It's quite painful, like not to go to the toilet kind of painful, but your stomach area, they say that it's stuck like cement and it just gets harder and harder as the time goes on.
And how did you deal with all this stress? You have had so many surgeries, like 17. That's a lot.
Each surgery, I just would gain more experience and become more of a pro at it and know how to handle the situation, how to prep for it. But recovery-wise, it's always different. Each surgery is always different. At the start, they were giving me medication to try and make the cyst go down, or it will go down on its own, but my pain was that bad. I've had 2 cyst ruptures, which is extremely dangerous. You can die from that. And I've had a cyst rupture inside of me 24 hours after I came out of surgery, and I was rushed back to the emergency room. So
Wow.
that's why they don't really take risks on me anymore. Apparently, it's less risky for me to have 2 surgeries a year than it is to have a hysterectomy, because I'm at more risk to have a stroke and a heart attack at this young age, because I'll be on hormone replacements.
You've been sharing your story, and a lot of people have been resonating with you and going through similar things.
Yeah.
You're using the power of social media to share your journey and to kind of create a community. How have you found that in terms of the support or sharing each other's stories? Has that been really beneficial?
It's good and bad, because I share my experiences just as like showing you what I do, but a lot of people take it as advice, and I'm never giving medical advice. I'm just telling you what worked for me. There was one stage I've been on Zoladex, which is actually like a cancer treatment for breast cancer and prostate cancer, and it was an awful experience, but it did help my pain, and I didn't have a cyst for 6 months. But other women had terrible, terrible experiences. So me sharing that online, I had a lot of bad comments of people saying I should be ashamed of sharing this online, and, it could endanger someone's health. And it was really sad, because some people just say, oh, have you tried meditation, or have you tried yoga? And I'm like,
Meditation's like the solution for all.
I know. And I just think, I don't think a breathing technique is going to make my endometriosis calm down. Like, it doesn't know what I'm doing. But it's good and bad. Then you have heaps of the support, and it actually makes you feel more empowered, I think, to keep sharing, because you'll have other women saying, my daughter has this, I've learned so much from you, I'm helping her, or I wish I knew this when I was younger.
So what are some of your self-care rituals that you have found beneficial?
Routine is so important. Trying to get back into a routine. When you are on heavy medication all the time, you do lose that motivation to do anything, and then you get into a bit of a dark hole where you just want to be at home, and what's the point of going out, because you're just going to have surgery soon, you're going to miss out on events. But I find having friends come over to me, but during COVID obviously you couldn't, but just talking out loud to people has really helped me feel better mentally. Just trying to eat better. I was into exercise and all that, but I don't want to preach that, because I know a lot of us just can't be bothered. So if you can just try and make better lifestyle choices, like eating well, you actually will feel better, because if you've eaten well all week, you end up feeling better at the end of the day. If you've had McDonald's all week, you're not so lethargic. Say if I'm going somewhere, if I'm going out for lunch or dinner, I know that I'm going to be in a lot of pain the next day. So then I will take 2 days off. So I have to prepare my life months in advance.
Wow. And hopefully after you have this operation and it goes well, you'll feel a lot better.
Yes.
Because it sounds like a major operation.
Yeah, well, they all seem major to me, but once they give you that little happy drug before they actually put you to sleep, you don't really mind what's happening. At the start, I was always really scared, and I used to always have my dad come to the surgery with me, because he's always been so calm and nothing is major, so I would have him around me. I've just become, I'm like, I have to have this done. Like, you have to have the surgery done. So there's no point being scared, because nothing's going to change. If you're scared or you're not scared, you're still going to have the surgery.
And how have you found doctors in this journey? When you first got diagnosed with endometriosis at the time, did they explain it?
No, not at all. They just kind of said, you've got endometriosis. And when I was younger, what I found before I was old enough to like go to the appointments on my own, which is probably still not now, I'm 27, I still take my mum with me. They seem to always talk to your parents about your condition more than they talk to the actual child. And I'm not talking about a 2-year-old, obviously they can't, but I'm talking 12 or 13. They understand a lot of stuff, especially nowadays with social media. So they just kind of direct their conversation to the mother or the father about what's happening to the kid. And I just think if they started wording it different so that the child can also understand what is happening to their body, not their mum and dad's body. I found the men that I dealt with, the gynecologists, sometimes I couldn't respect them enough. I would tell them a problem. They'd say, oh, yes, I know what you mean. And some of the women were probably worse sometimes because they were trying so hard to push me to say, but you can adopt a baby, or we can try and grab one egg out of you that might be able to be fertilized. Like, we'll do all this surgery. It's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, but at least you might have a baby. And I'm like, I'm in pain. They were all about women having babies.
At what age did you discover that you wouldn't be able to have a child?
I think it was only just a couple of years ago where the option of doing IVF was always there. But when I was younger, they said she won't be able to have a child naturally. She will need help because it was so severe, my PCOS and all the surgeries. And then as I got older, they were saying, oh, you can't go on different IVF medication because we can't overstimulate these ovaries because they just grow cysts so quickly. If you would overstimulate them, they would burst, and it's very dangerous. They recommended doing egg retrieval, but that also means overstimulating your ovaries because apparently in 19 follicles that they can take out of you, one might only be able to be fertilized. And so they wanted to take out 19 follicles, and I only had like 6 or something in there, and they said they wouldn't do it. And I said, well, I'm not going to overstimulate my ovaries for them to probably burst just so you're happy with one egg that may be fertilized, which I would never use. And I think because I was told about it at such a young age, it's not a shock. Right, I'm not 27 trying to have a baby now and being like, oh my God, like this was my dream. It was 14, your ovaries are shit, everything's shit with your reproductive system. And in my head, I'm like, oh, just take it out. I just kind of learnt to deal with it emotionally a lot quicker because it was said to me at such a young age. So it wasn't like, I can't wait to get married and have a baby. I always wanted to have twins, and I always said I wanted to have girl twins. And then it was kind of like, I'm in so much pain that I couldn't imagine what pregnancy is like. And it turned me off anything. And then as I got older, the cyst got worse. My PCOS and endometriosis has gotten 10 times worse. So they were more looking at preserving the ovary for hormones more than to have a baby.
And how do you feel now if you have friends posting all the Instagram photos and doing little TikToks with their babies?
Yeah, my partner's got kids, so I'm not missing out on that part, but I don't actually ever get baby fever. Is that what they call it? I'm like, wow, that's a cute baby. I don't think, oh, I want a cute baby. I just think, oh, that's cute. I don't actually feel sad or like I'm missing out on anything in life. I always wanted children when I was younger, but like, I think I've numbed that mentally for me. I don't get upset or emotional about it. I'm just really keen to get married. That's something I definitely no one can take that away from me.
Were there moments when you went, I just feel so in pain and I'm having all these operations. How the heck could I have a baby in amongst this chaos? Like, it would just be another added stress.
Absolutely. I used to think about that all the time. Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, though, it's a bit of a twisted world because if I turned around and said I would love a baby, I would probably have all the specialists around the world giving me all the best treatment options, and everyone in the world would come together to give this person a baby. But because it's the opposite and it's like she actually can't, but we don't want to give you a hysterectomy because you're a woman, and maybe in 10 years' time there might be a miracle treatment. And I know that women do have babies, but that's not what we're all good for. Like, there are other things that we can do.
Yeah. It's so fascinating when Sarah told me all about your book. We'll give Sarah a big shout out, Murdoch. She's a huge fan of you and your book.
Sarah's great.
She loves you to bits.
I love Sarah.
Big shout out to Sarah because I love her too. What was so fascinating when she told me about your book was I literally at the time had to go into hospital and have a polyp removed from the women's area, uterus scrape and all that jazz, and take the polyp out and send it off and let's see what it is. I get the results back and I go in to see the GP and he goes, I've got your results back. I go, okay, I've got some good news. It's not cancer.
Yeah,
I go, okay, that's good, isn't it? He goes, yeah, but I just got to tell you, you do have endometriosis. And I go, okay, well, what is that? He goes, it's endometriosis. And I go, anything else? Like, should I Google it? Like,
is there a fact sheet that we can read out together?
It's just endometriosis. He said, you did say you were getting a bit of pain around your periods. Oh, that'd be the endometriosis. But he didn't explain what it is, what it was. He's just like.
But it was also brushed off. I could tell by the way you're talking. It was like, it's just endo. You know, you're
Yeah,
a woman. You
exactly.
can deal with it, can't you?
He goes, just endometriosis. He goes, what you need to focus on is you don't have cancer.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, then see you later. That was it. So I walk out and then I go to see another GP. I had a female GP and I thought, yeah, this is cool. I've got a female GP. She'll be all over endometriosis and what it is. I say to her, now, how did I go with those results? She goes, oh, we got the results back. Now, just have a look. They sent it off. Your polyp, and what I can tell you, it was benign, not cancerous. But they've made a note here. You've got endometriosis. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean?
You're like, what is that word? Food? Is that a chocolate? Is it something we get? What is it? Explain it.
She doesn't tell me. She goes, it's endometriosis. So, you know, the pain you were having, your symptoms, you were saying you're having a bit of pain and you felt a bit sick around your period. You had a bit of heavy bleeding there. And I said, yes.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, that's endometriosis. So I say, okay then. So then I walk out again. So once again, it's like you haven't got cancer. We remove that polyp. You got endometriosis. You're going to have some pain, probably have some heavy periods. You might feel a bit sick around your period. See you later.
Yeah.
And that was it. No big deal.
So frustrating.
I said to Mum, I got told I got endometriosis. Oh, endometriosis? That's a thickening of the lining. And that might mean you can't have children. Did they tell you that? And I'm like, no, they didn't say
No, that wasn't said. It was just said that I was going to be in a bit of pain. No one said this.
No.
And the only way to actually correctly diagnose endometriosis is to have keyhole surgery and have a biopsy done of what's suspected endometriosis and have it sent off to the lab. I think what needs to change, I got my tonsils out when I was 3. So I was put under general anesthetic when I was 3 years old to remove my tonsils. But they won't put teenagers or try and avoid an easy diagnosis and a correct one, a yes or a quick no, for a couple hour surgery, which is the same as being put under for your tonsils. But instead, they will give you lots of medication to try. And the side effects for those medications is very dangerous. But they will say, try all these pills and we'll see how you go and come back in a couple of years or a couple of months and we'll trial this other pill and then we'll trial this other one. But instead of having surgery that goes for about 2 hours, wake up, you get your results in a couple of days later. Yes, you've got endometriosis. We'll start a treatment plan. Or no, you don't have endometriosis. Let's see what else it is.
Because what you're saying is people could be taking medication when they don't need it.
Because you're getting medicated for something you actually don't know is the problem. They say it might be this, so let's give you this pill. And it's like, but you don't actually know. But they say because it's intense surgery or something, and would rather that than trial all this medication and all the side effects from it. So I'm a real advocate at the moment to petition for us to be diagnosed quicker and get treated quicker.
Yeah, maybe have some GPs to even explain what endometriosis is. They didn't even give me a pamphlet so I could take it home and read.
Yes.
Old school, that back in the 80s or the 90s, at least you got that. If there was any GP listening to this podcast show right now, what would you suggest would be a great way to go about the diagnosis or informing someone what it is?
I really believe that if you're going into a new GP and you tell them all your issues and what you have, and if they actually don't know what to say, they should just be honest and say, I'm actually not really well researched or educated in this department, but I will recommend you or refer you to a specialist immediately so you can get the right information. But instead, I think a lot of doctors try to act like they know more than what they do. Like, you have this title, you're a doctor. In our heads, you you're number one, you know everything, you're a doctor, you can treat me on the spot. But if they don't know, just be honest, because then it makes you feel more insecure and more worried because they look at you like they've explained it well. You're too embarrassed to be like, what? I actually don't understand a thing. So just to be very honest with the patient and referring them to endometriosis specialists, which is becoming more common now, but there's not a lot of them, but they are out there. At the end of the day, we just need more medical funding to treat endometriosis because it's so expensive.
It's because it sounds like it's a bit of a underfunded.
It is. It's extremely underfunded. I think I just saw not too long ago that studies on migraines has double the funding than endometriosis. But I just think because women back in, say, my nan's day or even my mum's day, women are just expected to deal with pain. if we had more women and men come together and do the research equally, then it would be a lot more empowering for us, because it's not just women taking over, it's men trying to understand what we go through as well.
And that's what I love. With this podcast show, we have men and women, boys and girls. They always appreciate actually finding out about women's business because
Yes.
it gives them a greater understanding.
And I think it's becoming less taboo at the moment to speak about, you wouldn't speak to your brother or your dad or something back in the day about your period. But now, like, I'll call my brother after surgery and be like, oh, Andy, it's terrible. You have no idea. Like, there's blood everywhere. And he'd be like, oh, that sounds terrible. I'm like, yeah, you have no idea.
You obviously tried to keep a really outgoing kind of glass half full attitude, even though you've had 17 surgeries and you've been in and out of hospitals from the time you're 14 and probably spent more time there.
They love me there.
How did the whole book journey unfold?
Well, I did have my ghostwriter, and I would love to shout her out 1,000%. Her name is Katie, and she is like just the best person in the world. Without her, this book actually would never have happened, because I have it all in my head, but I just couldn't get it down on paper myself. So with her help, it's come to life. The start of last year, I just started talking about, I wonder how I can write a book and just get this book out to everyone, and then like talk about my entire experiences, and instead of constantly answering questions on social media. And then I went to my management. We wrote a synopsis about it. And then, Murdoch Books came up and said they loved it. And I was like, Murdoch Books? Oh my God. I was like, that is so cool. And then when it started, it was like Zoom meetings because we're in lockdown. And I was like, actually doing this. And when I had to keep rereading the book to proofread it, and that, I'm like, it was so weird to read my story back to me.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, you've gone through a lot. And I'm talking to myself like, that's you in there. And that's crazy. And like, you're going to help so many people. So the journey to make the book has just been so good.
Wow. And this book is really going to help so many people, because I'm speaking to so many women now and girls who are being diagnosed with endometriosis. And there's not a real lot of books out there where you can kind of grab the book and then resonate and then learn from another sufferer or someone who's recovering, and you're empowering fellow sufferers to take charge of their own health and well-being no matter their age.
Yes.
We're really passionate about there are too many who are suffering in silence. Why are you so passionate about connecting with them?
The title of the book is obviously called Endo Unfiltered. You're not going to read this book and be like, oh my God, I'm going to be cured and I know all the treatments. It's like, oh, it's shit and this sucks. But there's heaps of us out here, and like maybe what works for me or what didn't work for me might work for you. And there's just different options, and it makes you feel so much more connected to the outside world when you read a book that you can relate to. And when I realized I had such a big platform and how much it was getting out there and how much attention it was drawing in, I thought, I'm actually going to take advantage of this, because any day Instagram could be taken down. So it's not really something I'm thinking, oh, this is a career that I'm going to make out of Instagram. But in the meantime, I'm going to use my following to spread awareness as much as I can about endometriosis and sharing other people's like tips and tricks on how to help and stuff. And I do share a lot of that. And some people are just so grateful. And that makes me feel really good that I can help them reach another person that they never thought they would.
And I think if there's like women or girls having to go for their first surgery, or maybe they're up to number 7, they go, wow, Erin Barnett's up to number 17.
Yeah.
On Instagram, there's this obsession with pulling up your shirt and showing off your 6-pack, and it's all about the 6-pack and being hot and fit. With scar tissue, you've got to overcome that, don't you?
It is such a struggle, because you're trying to do like, body positivity and, love the body you're in and all this stuff. But when you used to have that awesome body when you were younger, and then all of a sudden you've had so many surgeries and you're like, I just can't lose the weight as quick, or I can't turn up as quick. And then you exercise and it makes you sore. So then that gets more like, oh, that's the too hard basket. So it is really hard, more of a mental challenge within yourself. But I love that social media is changing that, and they are showing more photos of real women or real life people and what they go through. It makes you feel like, oh, that's like what my body looks like, because social media can be super fake at times. So the more you're sharing, the more you're open, but you've just got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and realize that your story actually might be so helpful to others.
That's right. So the more women that can share all of their scars and show off that abs as it is, that could really
Yeah.
help normalize. Not every woman or girl has this perfect ripped six
Yeah.
pack.
I had
You know,
someone say to me recently when I was putting down my body, they said to me, it's actually incredible, Erin, what your body's gone through, and the fact that, you know, you're still able to work and go out with friends when you can and drive a car and do all this and that, where some people are very unlucky when they have even just one surgery, and it could just be a minor surgery. You know, your body has done so much recovery, so you actually need to appreciate it more. I looked at it like, oh, you know, look at your body like, ew, it's gross, when really it's like you've just had this many surgeries and you're very lucky, so you need to stop putting yourself down. So that's another way of looking at it.
That's right. And you're very lucky that every surgery comes with huge risks.
Yeah, I wake up every surgery, so that's a benefit.
And you've had a lot of emergency surgeries as well. But you're right. So when you put your perspective of I'm still here, I got through the emergency, I'm alive. When you see a superficial trend, totally different journey.
It is.
You're just so grateful that you're here and sharing the message. So
Absolutely.
what is your hope for your book readers?
Well, my hope for the book readers is that they gain more education on what endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome is, also how to deal with it when it comes to a friend of yours that might have it, or a mother, sister, grandmother, girlfriend, partner, anything. It's just to have a better understanding and a different way to approach a conversation. The more we talk about it, the more awareness, the more less awkward it's going to be for people out there. And if we can do it now with the younger generation, I just feel like, because their social media is so big and it's just going to get bigger, if we can influence that generation now to be more open about taboo subjects, that it will just spread more awareness and we will get better treatment and more funding and just hopefully find a cure.
Well, I could say that I found out a lot more about endometriosis, firstly from your book and chatting to you today, Erin Barnett, than I did from my 2 GPs.
I'm so glad.
You've got to find a third GP, because my mum said if you can't get that advice from your GP, it's a sign you got to find another GP.
Oh, yeah. You've got to just find another one. Absolutely.
Erin Barnett, how can we stay in touch with you after this podcast show?
Well, if you want to search me up on Instagram, it's at erin.alicia, and you'll find me on there, and I'm very active. And feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions about endometriosis or PCOS.
I love you to bits.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
It's a really must read, because it's really raising awareness for your story. It's a miracle you're here. And to everyone else who's tuning in that has endometriosis, or you've maybe gone through PCOS, you'll be able to pick up this book and really truly resonate with Erin and stay in touch with her after the show. But thanks again, Erin Barnett. Can't wait to see your book in the stores. It's really incredible. And you've turned all of your pain, suffering, surgeries, emergencies, all of that into something truly incredible, a movement, and you're going to help so many people.
Thank you. Really, thank you.
Congratulations again. We will say goodbye to Erin Barnett.
Bye, guys.
Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.